MacVoices Live discussing Unleashed. This is MacVoices. Today's MacVoices is supported by Quip, better oral health made simple. Visit getquip.com/MacVoices to get your first refill free. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, this is MacVoices Live, Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, whatever time that is, wherever you are. We'd love to have you join us, like a number of our friends have already in the YouTube chat room, to throw comments, questions, thoughts, wisdom, whatever you got. Throw it in there. We'll react to it. Not always favorably, but we'll react to it. We have a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to obviously talk about Apple's Unleashed event. And I want to go and make sure that we find out who's here, and then there are a couple small announcements, and we'll take it from there. So, taking the screen, my screen the way it usually is, Mr. David Ginsburg is here. David, welcome. Good to have you.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk about some crazy event that happened yesterday.
Yeah, there was something. I don't know what it was. Mark Fuccio is here with a very colorful background that sort of, I think, reveals his thoughts on Unleashed. Mark, good to have you.
Yes, it does, Chuck. And, as I said during the pre-show, I have to jump at half past the hour. So in case anyone doesn't want to go that far, wow, that certainly does describe my reaction to a lot of the products that they introduced yesterday.
Shh, Mark, you're giving it away. We want them to stay for the whole show. So
Okay, well, anybody over 40 will stay for the whole show, and all the rest they're already moving. They're already moving on to something else.
Jeff Gamet is with us. Jeff, welcome. It's good to have you as always.
It's always awesome to get to hang out with you, Chuck. And I want to point out that still, I love your pink shirt and pink background because Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
It is still Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I want to make sure that everybody remembers that and supports it, because it is. There are a lot of great causes out there, but that one is close to my heart. And so, if you can, by all means, get involved with that cause.
Yeah, and don't forget, men can get breast cancer too. Not joking, seriously.
Yep, no, dead serious. Yeah. So it's not just a ladies' issue. It's an issue for everybody. Mr. Jim Ray is here. And Jim, first of all, welcome. And second, congratulations on, I think I'm going to phrase this right, the new version of ProView.
Well, it's a public beta. So it's not the, official new version yet. But it's still a big milestone. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it, and it's still going smoothly. So, head over to ProView.com and check it out. There's a link to the. What were you going to say, Chuck?
Yeah, well, in our Slack, I think this week you mentioned that you've been working on this for 3 years. So, public beta or not,
right?
Congratulations. That's no small thing.
Speaking of no small thing.
Last Mr. Guy Serle is here. The no small thing at the end of the introductions. Guy, welcome. Good to have you.
Hey, good to be here, Chuck. Thanks for having me.
So, a couple things, folks, before we get started. First of all, I want to make sure everyone knows that right now the odds are about 90-10 against having a MacVoices Live next Tuesday. It looks like I'll be traveling. That's not set in stone. So if we are having a MacVoices Live, I'll make sure that the word gets out via the dispatch, via the social media. But otherwise, I'll give everybody Tuesday night off. But I expect to see you back here the following Tuesday, please. Let's see what else. Oh, the other thing too. I thought it was very nice, and I haven't told this story anywhere else, but a couple of weeks ago, I got a call from Tim Cook, and he said, we're getting ready to do this event and everything, and we're thinking about doing it on Tuesday, let's see, what's today, the 19th? Mm-hmm. And I said, well, why don't you do it on Monday? the 18th to coincide with MacVoices' 16th anniversary. And he said, okay.
Oh,
What a great guy.
what a great guy.
So we celebrated MacVoices' anniversary by having new Macs released. So I thought it was
Chuck,
very nice of him.
I heard a different story about how that played out. What I heard was that Tim called you and said, hey, Chuck, we know the MacVoices anniversary is coming up. Would you be okay if we did a media event to coincide with the anniversary?
I will leave it to the listener to decide what
He
truth is.
obliged.
Yeah. But one way or another, it fell on our anniversary. So
there's milestones all over the place here.
Yeah,
so Chuck, I want to know, do you call him Tim or Mr. Cook or something else?
I would always call him
Timbo.
Mr. Cook.
Okay.
Tim
always
Apple.
call him Mr. Cook.
Tim Apple.
Tim Apple, yeah.
Yeah. Anyone that's achieved what he's achieved, he's Mr. to me. So guys, Unleashed. We have a lot to talk about. And what I thought we'd do to make sure, because the MacBooks are obviously going to be the hot topic, but I did want to touch on a few of the other things first, or at least to start there, and we can bounce around if necessary. But I guess the first thing is the voice plan for Siri. I'm curious to see what your reactions were to this, because I feel like I've read very few places what my thoughts on it were. So, if somebody jump in, what? Good,
Okay,
bad,
I'll
indifferent?
jump
Do you
in.
care? Okay, Jeff.
Apple needed to flesh out their price point, and having a $4.99 tier made sense. But since Apple isn't going to do a thing where it's like, well, here's all the high quality music, but for $4.99 you get low quality music. That's not the Apple way. So they had to come up with a way to create some, in this case, artificial distinction between the layers. So if you make it voice only, you've created a more palatable way to say, here's your discounted price point or your lower price point where you get all the music, but you don't get the other features like being able to make playlists and stuff. And now you have a $4.99 price point. You draw more people in, and they just happen to be limited to using it to voice, and that limits the features they get.
And that's where I was confused, because I think a lot of people were confused. They go, okay, $4.99 voicemail plan. Okay, what does that mean? So what does that mean for us Apple Music full-on subscribers? Can I still use my voice to
Of course you can.
ask for something? Like, I mean, so basically this is and now I understand. I couldn't get it for last time. I'd be a little embarrassed maybe to think they went so fast through it, and they really didn't spend a lot of time on it and say, oh, this is what this is. And I'm like, okay. But no, that's actually a great thing, because if someone doesn't want to spend the big money and pay only $5 a month, granted, you're at the mercy of Siri, and that's I think a lot of pushback was probably with this plan. It's because people still question: is Siri accurate? Is Siri going to be a good experience when it comes to getting music to work for you?
That's the big thing, and I made a joke on Twitter yesterday how for $4.99 now you can have an Apple Music plan where Siri still doesn't understand you.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, for what I expect Apple sees as the target market for this, those are people that are probably going to be asking for either something incredibly specific, like play the latest Chuck Joyner cover album, or it's going to be very general, like play jazz. And in that case, the S Lady is more likely to be accurate. But it's still voice control, so it's going to fail enough that we will see news reports about how this is a problem.
Well, I would add that I think behind their desire maybe to have a lower price point. I think also they're just backfilling some of the competition against other music services out there. And this certainly makes it a little bit more palatable to spend $100 on a Apple entry-level smart speaker and $499 a month for voice only, compared to some of the other services, and having just no longer you have the big jump up, which is $10 or $9.99 a month, to get stuff without ads on it. So I think overall it improves some of their competitiveness and eliminates some of the gap at the bottom end of their product line.
So I'm kind of delighted to hear you guys, because your observations are very similar to some of mine. I thought, in hindsight, we all wondered about Apple giving the lossless stuff away and the spatial audio away at the old price and just adding it in. Great value add. Now to Mark's point, they filled in the bottom tier. So if you think about it, for $105, $100 and $5 a month, you have access to Apple's full library.
And at high quality.
And at high quality. And you don't have to be an Apple user to, an existing Apple user to take advantage of this. You can just stick it in your home, go through whatever sign-up process there is, and then just say, hey, SWD, play. And, it will. Zane Lowe made a big thing about all their curated playlists for every activity you can think of. And while I will almost certainly never use those, because I don't use them now. I have access to everything that this plan includes, and I don't use those, but that's me. There are a lot of people that do. And there's also the thing about, the younger generation. We talk about that a lot here, that they see things differently. They're doing everything on their phone. I have to wonder how many of them are really curating playlists, or whether they're just, play the latest album by, or, play the new hot playlist thing. I think this is just, I think it's kind of brilliant, top to bottom, but especially the fact that you are able to appeal to people who are not yet in the Apple ecosystem.
Well, is that right? Don't you need to have an Apple device to set up a HomePod? Because I don't think you can set up a HomePod with iTunes on Windows.
I don't think so.
Yeah, you'd need an iPhone.
Huh. Okay,
and also, don't they have an Android music app? And so
they have Apple Music for Android, and they have Apple Music
that's
for
probably
Windows.
left out of this, I guess.
I don't know.
Don't know.
Yeah, I don't think you can set up a HomePod through an Android phone with the music app.
But that's got to be something that.
Or just listen to music on the Android for $5. Right?
Use the home app. Yeah, I guess you do. So
yeah, I think you have to be in the Apple ecosystem to take advantage of the $499 price point.
Maybe so. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But again, even so, I still think it's a great way to fill in the bottom. And eventually maybe they will determine a way that you could set up your your HomePod online. So I don't know, but it certainly didn't take away from anything. I don't think it cannibalizes anything, unless you are just somebody who's figures, hey, I never ever use my app. All I do is talk to Siri to play my music, and then you might be cannibalized. You might be able to save $5 a month, but at some point,
presumably there are lots of people using iPhones that don't have Apple Music, so they're hoping to snare some of those.
Sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So overall, it's kind of a strange announcement. I wish they'd explained it a little better. We're all going to be looking for details as we go forward. So we'll see. Next up, and thank Jim for reminding me, because I sort of, as I was doing my notes, I kind of slipped by the AirPods. Anybody excited about these, or what are your feelings on this one?
Will it work better with Bluetooth on the Mac than the current ones?
It's the same technology, so I can't imagine it's any different. I think it was smart the way Apple actually put this in as another product point. So you go across the span of the 3 miles now. You have the basic HomePods, AirPods for $129. Then you got a midline product at $179. And then you got the HomePods, the AirPods Pro, not HomePods, AirPods Pro for the $229. So I think that was a smart move on their part. And then plus the fact that if someone doesn't want to spend the extra money and they're happy with the regular AirPods that we all have had pairs of, and those are good as backups in our case, and many of us are using the AirPods Pro. Now someone can get in and have spatial audio and have some of the capabilities of what the AirPods Pro do, but not have to spend the big extra money on them. And plus, I like the form factor. It looks like that they did make them a bit smaller than the regular AirPods are now. So that stem is not as long. So it's very close to what the AirPods Pro is. So I think in a sense, that was what Apple's goal was now they have a full line of AirPods from AirPods down up to AirPods Pro. So, and then I think it's going to be a good seller.
I have to just jump right in and say the single most important thing any of us can do tonight is stop for a second and look at Guy and his cat, because this is so incredibly cute. How his cat just keeps snuggling him, and I just want to get in there too. Oh my God.
Yeah, this is Jelly. She's basically what happened. I could hear her outside the door howling, and I just couldn't leave her out there. So,
I mean, you look at how happy that cat is.
Down,
that is just the most
right
precious thing ever.
Oh, she's a sweetie. She really is.
Jeff, just to clarify, you want to snuggle with Joey or you want to snuggle with Guy?
Yes.
6 and 1 half dozen of another.
Yeah.
Okay.
Combo. Anyway.
Don't go there. Don't go there, David. Don't go there. Brad in the chat room says, I like how the new AirPod 3 is wireless charging included.
Yes. That's the thing I forgot to mention. It does work with the MagSafe charger, and the case is, and that's one thing I forgot to mention too. The case for the new AirPods 3 look basically the same as the AirPods Pro.
Hadn't thought about that, David. You're right. It does. I guess my reaction to it was, this just makes perfect sense. Fill out the bottom end with an existing super successful product. Bring in a mid-range to, crank it up just a little bit. And then if you want the top end, by all means, it's still there. And if here we go, if the rumors are true, we will see an updated version of the AirPods Pro at some point in the future, in the relatively near future. So, I think it makes a very nice lineup for the holiday buying season. So,
Hey, Chuck.
Yes, Jim.
Since we're going through this in order, I just want to say the startup sound song at the beginning was awesome.
Yes.
I really enjoyed it too.
Yeah.
A little long. It went a little long.
I agree with Guy.
Not for me.
Nice.
It was great.
I'm with Jim.
I watched it
awesome.
again later.
So did I.
Yeah. It's sort of some of the Apple whimsy coming back, I feel like.
There were some definite fake outs there, because they showed it as they were kind of creating the song. I saw some products like a Mac Pro, like a new Mac Pro or the newer Mac Pro. And I was like, oh, are they going to do a Mac Pro today? And then of course, they didn't. So that was kind of like, okay, you're faking me. You're faking us all out now.
This edition of MacVoices is supported by Quip. Better oral health made simple. Visit getquip.com/MacVoices to get your first refill free. I've been telling you about Quip this week, how the Quip electric toothbrush can improve your oral health, how you can track your brushing by using the Quip app to help ensure that you not only cover all 4 quadrants of your mouth, but that you stay on track and even improve your brushing technique. How, when using your Quip, you can earn rewards like free refills and Target gift cards, just for brushing your teeth like you should anyway. But Quip isn't just about the toothbrush. They also have everything you need to build a complete routine. That includes mint or watermelon toothpaste with anti-cavity ingredients for strong, healthy teeth. Mint is my favorite. floss that expands to clean and comes in a refillable dispenser to reduce waste, and a refillable mouthwash that's good for you and good for the planet. So what exactly are you waiting for? If you go to getquip.com/MacVoices right now, you'll get your first refill free. That's your first refill free at getquip.com/MacVoices, spelled GETQUIP.com/MacVoices. Quip, the Good Habits Company. Thanks to Quip for their support of MacVoices. Hey, I'm going to violate my own rules because I know Mark has a hard out in 10 minutes. So I definitely want to give him a chance to comment on the MacBook Pros because I think what they did is really very interesting. It's pretty much exciting. You can tell he thinks it is by his background. Mark, give us your thoughts on that because I think you said pre-show that you're in the process of debating which one to order.
Yes, I am, and your listeners probably don't care about that, but I will talk a little bit more detail about what was introduced. And I think really what we see is the power of Apple engineering team and their partnership with TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Corp, and the power of their new leading edge 5 nanometer manufacturing process. And what they've done is they've introduced basically a scalable family of processors that the Pro and the M1 Max, or I'm not sure I'm saying the names correctly, right. But you can basically see, they're at the point where they're getting additional performance just by integrating more cores onto a big device. And the difference between the Pro and the Max is way more GPU cores, more on-chip memory, and double the memory bandwidth, which that's important just for getting data in and out of the processor. Because for a long time with Intel processors, they've been choked off by just how quickly you get data to them from a disk subsystem. So Apple is doing a lot of innovation there. I'd be interested, going forward, to see what they do to. I think this is the first time that they made a claim about how fast their SSD, disk subsystem was. I think was it 7.3 or 7.8 gigabytes a second, which is a far cry from their memory bandwidth, from their cores, that I think was either 200 or 400 gigabytes a second, depending on which model of the processor. So clearly these are pro level devices, and I think maybe it's sort of tipping the hand of what a future Apple silicon-based Mac Pro might look like. Is they may expand the processing cores capability, or they may add multiple chips of these into a future system. But future speculation aside, I think right now these are really tremendous, tremendously powerful, machines, and I think a lot of people out there may wish that they have one and have probably trouble justifying the cost to themselves of getting sort of a 16-inch MacBook Pro Max. But if that's the case, you're probably just not in Apple's target audience. Therefore, I think people like you, Chuck, or you, Jeff, people who are in the business of having to produce a video, and for whom time is money, as the old expression goes. And just the fact that they have all of these cores and all these GPU cores, and I think I saw on one slide that they said they had 4096 sort of processing engines on the high end. That's going to be tremendous in terms of rendering performance. So I look forward in a couple of weeks as these devices get out in the field, just to see what real world testing is in terms of performance improvement, because these, I think, are just absolutely stunning machines. Also I'd say is I think this year, between the iPhones that are a little bit thicker, a little bit heavier, and ditto for some of these Macs, and that we see they've buried John Ivey in his sort of dead end product direction of making things light and thin beyond the point of being usable. And it's good to see that the new Mac Pros, that instead of having beautiful, smooth silicon walls, that they have ugly old holes in them for ports that are very useful for creators. So, I look forward to, I think this is just the start of a new era. And, it seems to me that for about 5 years, 6 years or so, that sort of the Apple MacBook Pro line has sort of stagnated. But, I think catalyzed by their own silicon, I think, we have quite an exciting time ahead of us.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that they sort of addressed saying that Touch Bar was gone without saying that it was a horrible, horrible mistake that nobody ever really wanted, but they put in there and you had to use it until it wasn't there anymore.
I don't think it was a horrible, horrible mistake. I think Apple's horrible, horrible mistake was the way they dealt with this technology that they created.
Yeah.
They left it limited to laptops, and it was a subset of laptops, which meant that developers had to decide, were they going to support a hardware feature that is not on every Mac? Apple needed to put a touch bar on every keyboard they sold, and they didn't do it. And so they killed the technology by not doing what they needed to, because touch bar is actually really cool and has a lot of useful features and could have even more, except that Apple tossed it out there and let it languish instead of supporting their own technology.
I agree with Jeff completely. I'm sorry to see the touch bar go. I've been using computers with function keys for about 40 years, or computers that have function keys, but I never ever actually use the function keys. As far as I'm concerned, Apple could have just left that section blank, and it would have pretty much the same effect for me, except occasionally I'll use them to make the volume go up and down. But F3, F4, F5, I can never remember what those are. That's worthless old technology.
And they're different in every app.
And they're different, yeah. And it's just, I've seen some comments on Twitter that are like, well, yeah, Apple just punted, and all the engineers looked around and said, yeah, I got nothing. Just put the damn function keys back in. So I don't know. A lot of people are real happy about it. I mean, it's, I'm not going to not buy one of these machines because it doesn't have the touch bar. But I did actually just recently buy a 13-inch after Dub because I decided I couldn't wait anymore. And one of the reasons I bought the 13-inch Pro instead of the Air was because it had the touch bar. And even though I knew it was probably going away, I'm like, well, I'll have it, for my next, phase anyway. And I don't use the touch bar a lot. Partly that's because I use an external monitor, so it's not in front of me all the time, but I do use it some, and I use it more than I ever used a function key. It's kind of cool for video editing. At least I know in ScreenFlow. I'm not sure about Final Cut. The timeline comes up, and I have actually moved to working on my laptop screen instead of my external monitor, just so I could use the touch bar for the editing. So I think it's too bad, but it's all right. I'm not going to not buy it because it doesn't have the touch bar.
Yeah. Let me catch up with the chat room just for a second. Brian, I'm only going to go so far back, but Brian says this event answered the question whether the Pro processor would allow for discrete GPUs. Eric says, I hope we get interesting CPU development on the PC side in response. I'm tired of the old AMD or Intel model. Jeff says outside, I don't know, Jeff, is that you or is that somebody else?
It's another Jeff, but hi, other Jeff.
Okay. Hi, other Jeff. Yeah, outside of video editing, average people will not utilize the power of these new expensive laptops. That's probably largely true. Maybe the photography people might. Let's see. Eric said, I'm looking forward to whatever comes after this first generation of desktops. Might pull the trigger on an upgraded Mini, or if they ever make one again, a mid-range desktop. And I want to just address something that, I guess, who said it? Eric's comment. Was it just me, or, after that pathetic Intel ad, Did you feel like, they poked the bear and the bear poked back in a big way by doing all the PC comparisons?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They would have done that anyway. I don't think they give a rat's patootie about Intel at this point.
No.
Did you see yesterday that the Intel guy was saying he was hoping they'll get Apple's business back in the future? As if.
Yeah.
His board should be like, getting psychological assessment of him, I think.
Well, if they have a chance of getting into
and we'll see.
If they have a chance of, getting a decent, sub 5 nanometer Micron process, that may be a possibility, but I think that's the only way that they stand to get anything back.
It's too late.
Well, they're not going to get Apple's business back ever.
Well, never say never, but you're looking at
ever is 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years down the road before they would be willing to switch back. They would have to be, the M series would have to have such a colossal failure that, we would have like little Chernobyls all over the world as each one of these devices blew up before Apple would go back to Intel right now at this point.
Well, and we all know, we've said it a million times, Apple likes to control the whole widget. And they're just controlling more and more and more of the widget, and we're reaping the benefits.
Yep.
So, it will be interesting. Mark, my clock says you've got to go, and I'm not throwing you out by any means. I just want to make sure we acknowledge that your contributions.
Okay, I was just checking. It looks like I set an alarm for 5:32 just in case. But anyway, hi Brittany, hi Kelly, nice seeing you, and I've got to go. So
yeah, Mark.
Bye.
Before you go, where can folks find you?
Twitter at Mark Fuccio, MarkFuccio, all one case, all one word, lowercase.
Great. Thanks for being here with a colorful background.
See you, Mark.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
And Mark spoiled my intro because we've been joined by two of our other panel members. Kelly Guimont is here. Kelly, welcome. Good to have you.
Hey, all.
And Brittany Smith has appeared as if by magic. Brittany.
How did they manage to coordinate that?
I don't know. They both popped in at the same time.
I was actually surprised. So we could have coordinated it, but did not elect to this time.
I see.
What it comes down to is
we just
girls are smart like that, and they can just do these things. Guys have to spend a ridiculous amount of time coordinating it, and we'd still screw it up.
Yep.
On my screen, it was completely simultaneous.
Same.
We just knew.
Okay. All right. Well, guys, we got to do better next time. We'll figure out a way to just appear magically. Obviously, guys, we're talking about the new MacBook Pros. That seems to be the big story of the day.
What?
And so,
there's new MacBook Pros. I'm so excited.
Brittany, as soon as they showed the SD card slot, I thought of you. I thought, Brittany's buying a new MacBook.
Yeah.
Is it on order?
There is a MacBook on order. I'm still having anxiety. My bank hurts. And anxiety, yes. But there is currently an order being placed, and we'll decide if it stays or not.
Should we ask, or can we ask about which model or models, or
you can? It might explain my trepidation.
Okay. All right, let's hear it.
I didn't go for the biggest SSD. I didn't go for the 8 terabyte, but other than that, the top
did not. That was like the only.
That's the one I didn't, because that's
faster.
So, what size did you order?
4.
Really?
16/4?
64 and 4.
Max.
It's what we like to call the big girl machine.
Yes.
Yeah. I've been outclassed.
Your account is getting some exercise.
And that's how Brittany strained her inner Visa.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I mean, it's whatever the Apple Card is. I mean,
MasterCard.
Yeah, I thought it was MasterCard, but it doesn't say on it, and I don't use a card anyway. So
okay. So Brittany, I'm very intrigued. Why did you feel? Because frankly, I ordered the same machine you did, except I went to 2 terabytes. I did not feel the need to go beyond that. What made you want to have that much onboard storage?
you, I'm guessing, do your video processing on a desktop?
No, I do it on my MacBook Pro.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah.
Because honestly, this is what happens is I keep a computer way, way too long. And then I'm just so ravenously hungry. It's like when you didn't eat for like 2 days and then you go to a restaurant and order way too much food. That's what I do with computers.
Okay.
Then Brittany, the way that you spec'd this out, this totally makes sense because what you did was you followed the advice that back when I was a consultant, I would give my clients, which is when you know that you need a new computer, you buy as much as you can when you can get it. Mm-hmm. And so this computer came out and you bought as much as you could when you could get it. And now you will have this computer for several years, and it gives you that growing room that you need, so that it's not like someone that should have been on a lease model instead, so they can upgrade every like 18 months.
Yeah, and I'll often have like a hobby video project and a professional one, and my hobby one, they all have multi-camera running. The hobby, I'm actually going to try for 9 cameras running simultaneously this next time. So that's a lot of footage. And it's messy. And I'll still be using my SD slot plan, but I like breathing room. And I've been I've tied up in this tight little 500 gigabytes for a long time. And it's been really confining. But I had to wait because they had a crappy keyboard. And then I had to wait because like they had a touch bar. And then I had to wait because, well, they're going to have Apple Silicon soon. I can't not get that. And here we are.
I mean, everything you just said makes perfect sense. I went with the 2 terabyte just because I don't have a problem, for the most part, keeping a lot of my project files on an external. But I like to have that extra terabyte when I do have something I need to keep internal and, want to be able to work on it there. I just found that, the 500 is out of the question. The 1 terabyte for me was cramped, and I have never regretted buying the 2 terabyte options because I did with my last MacBook Pro. But Jeff's comments bring up something interesting, and it's sort of my philosophy, and I don't know how many of you share it, but you either buy a machine like this and then you run it in the ground and then pick up the next one at that point, or you just constantly turn them over and, and make, that way you're maximizing your trade-in value.
Mm-hmm. I had a lot of flexibility by doing it that way. I never had the crappy keyboard. I never will have had a touch bar machine. I will never this my temporary MacBook Air that was supposed to tide me over until the real ones came out. The real Brittany ones, this isn't the real computer. I still like you. But that it was supposed to tide me over until this came out, and it's going to be my only one without an SD slot.
Okay. Is anyone else sad about the touch bar?
Well, we had that discussion right before you got on.
I feel like it was a good idea that couldn't get implemented because Apple couldn't go big enough on it to make it worth developers' time to put cool stuff in it. And so it kind of fell by the wayside. It's like the force feedback in the trackpad, which is
that's
also
never been adequately utilized either. It was basically a space saver.
Numbers is like the only, or not numbers. Keynote is like the only place I ever get the haptic feedback after they fainted all over it when they added it on stage. I've never nothing uses it for anything, and it feels like another one of those ideas that was a really good idea that wasn't ever going to get anywhere. And part of the reason it was never going to get anywhere is because Apple didn't make desktop keyboards. The Apple external keyboard never had a touch bar. So if you were a developer and you wanted to put cool stuff in the touch bar, you had to find a way to do all that other cool stuff again. And nobody wanted to develop stuff twice on spec because it always kind of looked like the touch bar was about to go away the whole time we had it. So I feel kind of bad for it because it seems like it was a good idea that didn't get a fair shake from most people. And that's that is just a bummer because it was cool. It would have been cool if it could have been cleverly implemented and somebody had done something really neat with it. And so I'm sort of sad that it's one of those great technology things that's going to just evaporate.
Our panel will be back in the next edition of Mac Voices to continue our discussion of the Unleashed event by Apple. Next time, we get into HDMI, MagSafe, USB, and Ethernet, and a whole lot more. That's next time on Mac Voices. I hope you'll join us. Until then, and as always, I'm Chuck Joyner. Thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with Mac Voices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.